Thanks for having me.
Let's talk Ghislaine Maxwell happening next week. I think largely what the American public wants is to know who else was involved with abusing minors. So are you going to ask her that? Are we going to get to the bottom of that?
What happens when Congress finally says no one is above the law, not even former presidents or first ladies? Today, James Comer breaks down the Epstein investigation and why the Clintons were subpoenaed. Stick with me because this moment says a lot about power, accountability, and whether Washington still believes in equal justice. Before we get into it, make sure you like this video and subscribe. It helps keep independent political commentary alive and uncensored.
We have pages and pages and pages of questions to ask Ghislaine Maxwell. We've met with many of the victims and the survivors of the Epstein saga, and they've all pointed the finger at Maxwell. Obviously, she deserves due process, but at the end of the day, she's already been convicted for crimes related to the Epstein crimes. So we're going to ask her questions. Again, this is a serious bipartisan investigation. We're trying to determine how the government failed the victims and who all was involved. And try to, at the end of the day, not only get the truth to the American people, but get justice for the survivors of Epstein.
Congressman, considering, as you pointed out, that Ghislaine Maxwell has already been convicted, what would behoove her to say anything?
Well, she has a right to plead the fifth, like most of the people in the Biden influence peddling investigation. But at the end of the day, we've negotiated with her for a long time. She's threatened to plead the fifth. Sometimes people threaten to plead the fifth, but then when they get sworn in, their conscience kicks in and they say, I don't want the American people to see me pleading the fifth to all these questions, and they start to answer questions. So hopefully she'll answer questions because she's the key figure in all this. She's the most important witness in the whole Epstein investigation that's still alive. So we're hopeful that we can get some information out of her. We hope she answers the questions. It's virtual because she's in prison, and it's very difficult to get a bunch of members of Congress and staffers in a prison to conduct a deposition. So we're doing it as our almost every deposition from an inmate virtually.
And Congressman, I think they also want transparency. So talk about after the deposition, it's going to be done virtually, you say, releasing those videotapes, the audio, all of it so we can know.
Absolutely. 100% of the time when I've done a deposition in the 3 years I've been chairman of the Oversight Committee, we've released the transcript. When we record the depositions, we release that too. So it's preposterous for Hillary Clinton to say, oh, I want this to be made public. She's trying to spin a narrative that's not true. 100% of every deposition that's ever been conducted in the history of America has been conducted by, in quote, closed doors. That's where you do a deposition in a courtroom. A courtroom's closed doors. We're recording her testimony and we will release it. It will be made public. So for her to try to spin a narrative that this is going to be in a smoke-filled room, you're going to have, a dozen or so Democrat members, probably 24 Republican members of Congress. It's going to be recorded within 48 hours. Everyone in America will see the entire deposition. So it's going to be made public. What she wants is a hearing. And as your very effective reporter just stated, and everyone who's ever watched a congressional hearing knows, hearings are more for entertainment than substance, unfortunately. My job isn't to entertain people. My job is to get the truth to the American people and try to get justice for the victims. So we've got to have a deposition.
You're not trying to produce the best political theater ever produced. And we've seen a lot of that over the past few years.
House Oversight Chairman James Comer appeared to explain why his committee issued subpoenas connected to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, including subpoenas for Bill and Hillary Clinton. Let's be clear about one thing up front. A subpoena is not a criminal conviction. It is a legal demand for testimony when Congress believes someone may have relevant information. That distinction matters, and responsible commentary respects it. Comer emphasized that these subpoenas were bipartisan, approved by both Republicans and Democrats. That's important because it undercuts the narrative that this is just partisan theater. Bipartisan votes mean the committee believes the questions are legitimate. According to Comer, the goal here is facts and transparency, not political revenge. He stated plainly that the committee is not accusing the Clintons of crimes, but is seeking sworn testimony about their knowledge of Epstein and his network. A network that included powerful people protected for far too long. One point that stood out was Comer's response to reports that Clinton attorneys proposed an unofficial interview without full committee participation or formal transcripts. Comer rejected that offer. From a constitutional perspective, that's the right call. Congress does not conduct investigations behind closed doors as a courtesy to powerful figures. Equal justice means the same rules apply to everyone.
I do want to get your thoughts, though, on what Hillary Clinton said. She directed to you. She said, let's stop the games if you want to have this fight. I was trying to figure out, what is she talking about? We know that she and her husband have already answered a lot of questions. They first said they were not going to discuss this any further. Now they're saying they want everything to be out there. What games are they playing?
Well, this is typical Clintons, and I've studied Clintons. I grew up in the 90s when Clinton was president, and read a lot of books about Clinton. I always watched Clinton, watched his interviews, and he, sometimes they blow with the wind here. And where they miscalculated this whole subpoena was they thought the Democrats would stick with them and they could peel off a couple of Republicans, maybe a Massey and maybe a Don Bacon or something like that. That's all they would need to defeat the contempt vote. Where they, in their arrogance, they never dreamed that a majority of Democrats on the House Oversight Committee would vote to hold them in contempt in a committee markup. And that was after Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi met with the Democrat members before the markup and told them not to vote to hold the Clintons in contempt. So the Clintons misread the room. They're misreading public opinion. Public opinion is that they are supposed to answer questions. This was a bipartisan subpoena voted on by Democrats and Republicans. This isn't just a subpoena I issued. This was voted on by the committee, majority vote, bipartisan vote. So she can answer questions and she can participate in a deposition like every deposition in the world's ever been conducted. They agreed to the terms. Now she's the one that moves the goalpost. So they're trying to create a false narrative that somehow makes the Clintons appear to be the victims in all this. And they're not the victims. The victims are the young girls that were unfortunately involved with Jeffrey Epstein, not the Clintons.
Absolutely. Congressman, we got 10 seconds here. I watched some of your other interviews with media outlets. Possible this deposition with Hillary Clinton may be broadcast live. Is that even possible?
We're trying to see what the options are. It's always been recorded. That's what they agreed to. If we tinker with what they agreed to, are they going to say we moved the goalpost again? And the New York Times say, Comer, keep changing the rules. The rules are they sit for a deposition. We record it. We get the transcript. After their lawyers approve the transcript, then we make it public. That's what the rules are. That's what I intend on doing. Everyone in America will have access to this deposition. So for all practical purposes, this will be a public deposition, just exactly what Clinton's saying. She's trying to muddy the waters. And, the best thing she can do is just show up for the deposition like she agreed to and answer the questions.
Comer also noted that many other individuals subpoenaed in the Epstein investigation have complied. When everyday Americans are expected to show up, testify, and tell the truth under oath, political elites should not get a separate set of rules. He further stated that if Congress votes to hold individuals in contempt for ignoring subpoenas, the Department of Justice has a responsibility to act. That's not radical. That's how the system is supposed to function. As conservatives and constitutional patriots, this isn't about personalities. It's about a simple principle. If the law only applies to the weak and never to the powerful, then the republic doesn't last. Whether you supported the Clintons or opposed them, transparency should never scare you. Innocent people don't fear sworn testimony. They welcome it. This investigation is ultimately about restoring public trust after years of elite protection, selective enforcement, and unanswered questions surrounding Epstein and those who surrounded him. The real question is this: do you believe Congress should treat powerful political families the same way it treats ordinary Americans? Drop your thoughts in the comment. If you want more calm, fact-based, patriotic breakdowns of what's actually happening in Washington, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stay informed, stay grounded, and never stop demanding accountability.